At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or Dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Hey, want a cookie? Oh, I know you just ate, so you're craving something a little sweet. Besides, one cookie isn't gonna kill you. How about half? Just a bite? Bite it. Bite it. Bite it.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. Your affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on a path to successful weight loss by quieting food noise.
Bite it.
Shh. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today, I am back with updates in the case of Melodee Buzzard. The timeline has changed. At least 3 new search warrants have been served, and family members are speaking out about trying to submit new tips to investigators who are not returning their phone calls. This is part 2 of the case of Melodee Buzzard. Now, like I always say when I create several episodes about one case, I definitely recommend going back and listening to the previous coverage before proceeding with the new. But as a brief recap, this case made major headlines all across the country in October of this year, 2025, when the media began reporting that 9-year-old Melodee hadn't been seen in over a year. But we've since learned that that isn't the case. Melodee was officially homeschooled by her mother, Ashlee Buzzard, in an independent study program supported by the Lompoc School District in Santa Barbara County, California. But after failing to pick up assignments and participate in some other district-supported programming as she had in the past, officials with the district reported her missing to the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office on October 14th. At the time of that initial report, officials stated that they hadn't seen Melodee in about a year. However, another official with the school district has since come forward to say that Melodee was seen with Ashlee while she was enrolling her in the independent study program for the 2025-2026 year in early August. Unfortunately, according to the sheriff's office, Ashlee has been completely uncooperative in the search for Melodee. And really, since the news broke, the media and community have swarmed Melodee and Ashlee's home on Mars Avenue in Vandenberg Village. They've placed signs outside of her home with Melodee's picture and the words, "Where is Melodee?" and "We aren't going to stop until you tell us." They also often camp outside of the home waiting for Ashlee to come out. Of course, I go into more detail in part 1 and play you interviews with some pretty crucial people in this case, but that's the gist. I told you in that episode that this is a rapidly evolving case that really needs our attention. Right now is a crucial time in Melodee's case, and the chance that someone saw something seems to be very high. So I'm back to tell you about all the updates since we last covered Melodee's case, because they really do change a lot. So let's dig in. In part 1, I told you that officials were focusing on a road trip Ashlee made with Melodee from California to Nebraska between October 7th and October 14th. Not long after that episode aired, officials announced a new, tighter timeline for Melodee's disappearance, along with new information and surveillance photos of Melodee and Ashlee. Let's break it down. According to the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, Ashlee left California with Melodee on October 7th in a rented white 2024 Chevy Malibu with California license plate 9MNG101. They have now released images of Ashlee and Melodee at the rental car location in Lompoc, California from the 7th. Prior to these images, the most current photo we had of Melodee was from 2 years ago. So this is very helpful in giving us an idea of what Melodee looks like now. But I say just an idea because unfortunately, investigators believe that both Ashlee and Melodee were wearing wigs in these photos. Melodee appears to be wearing black or dark-colored tennis shoe-style shoes, multicolored leggings with what appears to be some type of cartoon characters on them, and a light gray hoodie with the hood covering up much of the wig. In my opinion, the images of her from the car rental company look nothing like the photo of her from 2 years ago, which is to be expected. Kids change a lot from ages 7 to 9. But at this point, we still don't really have a clear photo of her face. For what it's worth, though, Melodee's paternal aunt, Lisbeth Meza, has stated that while she hasn't seen her niece since she was about 4, that it does appear to be Melodee in the photos, specifically stating that she absolutely recognizes her father's nose, who, as you might remember from part 1, unfortunately passed away in a motorcycle accident when Melodee was under a year old. I will, of course, have these photos on our social media pages and website for you to take a look for yourself. And of course, to please share. Now, during this trip, they went as far as Nebraska. We already knew that. But we now know that Melodee was with Ashlee on her return trip to California. And during that return trip, they traveled through Kansas. What's also new is that beginning on October 8th, the rented Chevy Malibu had a new license plate. A New York license plate, HCG 9677. So at some point between the 7th and 8th, Ashlee switched the plates. The rental car company has also confirmed that the New York plate was not issued to Ashlee at the time she rented the vehicle. Where she obtained the plate is really anyone's guess at this point. Possibly something she coordinated with another party, or she just saw the plate and took it from another vehicle during her travels. Investigators have not confirmed whether the owner of the plate and the vehicle it was legally assigned to had reported it or their vehicle stolen, or if this plate was completely counterfeit. Now, I want to pause here and talk about the possibility of plate switching, which does seem to me, just my opinion, to be more likely than Ashlee having connections to print some type of counterfeit plate. Really ask yourself, how often do you look at your license plate? Now, I'm sure some of you are saying right now that you look every single time before you get into your vehicle. But I think it's safe to say that many people could go quite some time without realizing that their plate was stolen or switched with another plate. It's not uncommon for people who steal cars to switch the license plate before doing so to buy them some extra time. Growing up, I saw this a lot. So let's say Ashlee stole a New York license plate from a Toyota Tacoma, leaving them without any plate at all. She could then take that license plate and swap it out with a New York license plate from a white Chevy Malibu and place it on her rental. If a cop runs Ashlee's plates, it's going to come up as a white Chevy Malibu. And if the owner hasn't realized that the plates have been swapped, a flag won't come up in the system. As long as she isn't pulled over and they aren't checking the registration, she's in the clear until the owner of the other Chevy Malibu realizes that their plates have been switched. Of course, we don't know if this is the case. But if Ashlee was afraid of being tracked on this trip, which does seem to be the case, this line of reasoning would make sense. Now, all the sheriff's office has said is that they believe that the plate was used as a false or switched plate to avoid detection. It doesn't appear that the actual plate has been located. We also know that when Ashlee returned the vehicle to the rental company, it was returned with the original California plate. So that's what we know about Ashlee switching the license plates out. But back to the timeline. Ashlee has a new plate by the 8th, and investigators are now saying that Melodee was last seen along this return route on October 9th. She was apparently captured on surveillance near the Colorado-Utah border on the Colorado side. They say they're still trying to narrow down this timeline even further to figure out when Melodee was no longer with Ashlee. But we do know that after that, Ashlee made stops in Green River, Utah, Panguitch, Utah, St. George, Utah, Northwest Arizona, Primm, Nevada, and Rancho Cucamonga, California, all on October 9th. This would have been about a 10-hour drive straight through before returning to her home in Vandenberg Village, California, without Melodee on the 10th. So our timeline has been narrowed down a lot with these new developments. Instead of that October 7th through 14th timeframe, investigators are now looking for anyone who may have seen or interacted with Ashlee and Melodee on October 9th or 10th to come forward. They're also working with law enforcement agencies in California, Colorado, Utah, and Arizona to aid in the search for Melodee. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together, and Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/Sarah E. Turney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. Not long after I posted my first episode about Melodee's case, Child Welfare Services, or CWS officials were seen going to Ashlee and Melodee's home. And according to reporting by News Nation, neighbors reported that Ashlee was handed a document stating she needed to produce Melodee in 72 hours. Of course, if that is true, that time period has long expired, and Melodee is still missing. However, this was a significant development in this case, as various media outlets and concerned members of the community have recorded many different types of government officials, including those from Child Welfare Services, knocking on Ashlee's door only to receive no answer. But for some reason, on this day, on or about October 23rd, Ashlee answered the door, was served, and signed a set of papers. Not long after, at the end of October, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, along with the FBI and a CSI unit, participated in another search of the Buzzard home. They also removed Ashlee from the residence as it was being conducted, but according to law enforcement, she was not officially detained or arrested. Spokesperson for the Sheriff's Office, Raquel Zick, gave a statement to KSBY News, who is still doing a fantastic job covering Melodee's case. But here is Zick.
We're doing multiple searches and that we're utilizing our partners at the FBI that have some really, great equipment, training, experience, people, all of those things. We're coming at this investigation with from every angle and with everything that we have access to.
The KSBY News cameras also captured agents removing items from the home in large black trash bags. But what was taken is unclear. They were also seen looking through Ashlee's garbage bins. Officials have called it an ongoing effort to collect evidence in Melodee's case, and specifically said that it was a secondary, more detailed search than what had previously been done. Search warrants were also issued to a storage locker belonging to Ashlee Buzzard, as well as for the rental car in what would be at least the second search of the vehicle. Unfortunately, again, what, if anything, was found is unknown. But this was huge in the media. Many people were hoping that this was it, especially after Ashlee was removed from the property. But she has since returned and is still avoiding answering the door for reporters, CWS, law enforcement, and her own family. Which does bring me to something that I want to address in this case that I think is pretty vital. There doesn't appear to be any one member of the family who is getting updates from law enforcement. Usually, we see that there's one or more family members who keep in contact with authorities and receive updates. But that doesn't appear to be the case here. While many family members have been outspoken in the media, none have confirmed that law enforcement is giving them updates in the case. And two of the most outspoken family members, Melodee's older half-sister on her father's side, Karina Meza, and Melodee's aunt, Lisbeth Meza, confirmed to Ashlee Banfield with News Nation that they aren't really being kept in the loop in Melodee's case. In fact, they weren't even asked if they know about any possible connection Ashlee may have to Nebraska or Kansas with this new information about the route she and Melodee traveled. To be clear, they did confirm with Ashlee Banfield that they don't know of any family or any reason for them to be in those states, but it does feel like something investigators should be asking. Even more disturbing, Lisbeth added that she tried to connect with detectives about tips she's received from the public, and as of that interview with News Nation, she says they never responded to her phone call. Now, as far as not sharing information, of course, this could be for good reason. It's possible they have information they don't want getting back to Ashlee, which is valid. I just thought it was worth noting that it appears Melodee doesn't have a family advocate, at least not one that the police are willing to work with. She is seemingly unrepresented at this point. It also seems that things are getting more tense with Ashlee Buzzard. Since our first episode about Melodee, we also have new video showing Ashlee Buzzard ripping down Melodee's missing persons posters outside of her home. At least one of those posters was put up by Melodee's sister Karina, who you may remember approached Ashlee asking if she and Melodee were okay and offering her help. But Ashlee refused and basically shut the door in her face. There's also been new speculation that Ashlee may be planning on moving out of the home. Neighbors captured video footage of what appears to be moving boxes delivered to the home. In that video, you can clearly see that it's boxes. Ashlee leaves her home fully dressed in boots, even a purse, as if she might be leaving. But then she goes back inside. We also have some new statements from Melodee's maternal grandmother, Lori Miranda, who, despite being greatly criticized for her first statements that she hadn't seen Melodee in a few years, continues to give interviews about this case. Crystal Bermudez has gone back out to speak with Lori Miranda again. She showed Lori that picture I told you about earlier of Melodee in what appears to be a disguise. And Lori Miranda says that this entire thing is shocking, overwhelming, and has really left her numb. She's also proposed the theory that Ashlee and Melodee may have crossed paths with family on that road trip. Here is Lori Miranda speaking with Crystal Bermudez.
You're saying that her father's family, his people,
and my family,
and your family are along those routes.
Utah.
Lori also told Bermudez that she believes Ashlee knows where Melodee is, that someone has helped her in these endeavors, and is pleading for Ashlee to speak up.
You need to tell them where the baby is. You need to tell them who's setting all these things up for you. I know you're not doing it.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
So good, so good, so good.
Everything you want for summer is at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and up to 60% off. Stock up and save on the brands you love like Vince, Sam Edelman, Frame, and Free People. Join the Naughty Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
There was a candlelight vigil held for Melodee outside of the Buzzard home at the end of October. This was organized by Melodee's father's side of the family. At the vigil, members of Melodee's family and the community prayed for both Ashlee and Melodee, as well as for Melodee's safe return, and they spoke to the media. Here is her paternal grandmother, Lily, speaking with Crystal Bermudez from KSBY News about Melodee and her son.
If she's listening, we love you. We're here for you. And we just want you to be happy and call me.
While Melodee's father died in a motorcycle crash when she was 6 months old, his mother tells me he's there in spirit.
This is my baby. And he's gone and she was just a baby. But here, I took this picture at the hospital. I walking in and he said, Mom, wait, Mom. I know your daddy's watching you from heaven. I love you, baby.
This community and Melodee's family have been showing up every single day to bring her home. But one question that I think is lingering in everyone's mind right now is what else can be done? And how can Ashlee be compelled to speak? In part one of my coverage, I told you that the FBI has already joined the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office in their efforts to locate Melodee. Since that episode aired, the Santa Barbara County Prosecutor's Office has also confirmed that they're partnering with these agencies to help in the case as well. But at this point, what are their options to compel Ashlee to speak or cooperate with investigators? Across social media, I see so many comments of people asking, why can't they just make her talk, make her speak to investigators? I often get the same question about my sister's case, as our father, like Ashlee Buzzard, has refused to cooperate in the investigation for their missing child. In the nearly 25 years since Alyssa went missing, he has never once sat down for a formal interview. So I think I have some unique insight here and can empathize with this frustration. We cannot force people to cooperate. We cannot arrest people for not cooperating and keep them in a cell until they speak. And that's due to the Fifth Amendment in our Constitution. Now, again, while I do have practical experience in this area, I am by no means a legal expert. So let's read right from the Constitution. Quote, "No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." End quote. Now, I know that may seem a little excessive to read from the Constitution instead of just saying that she pled the Fifth. But I want to thoroughly address the many people who are asking why she can't be arrested and held until she talks. So in short, it's unconstitutional if Ashlee has invoked her Fifth Amendment right to stay silent, which it appears she has. But that doesn't mean that there are zero options to compel her to speak, or hold her accountable for seemingly not caring for Melodee at this time. Prosecutors, investigators, and other experts have spoken out across several media outlets, reiterating her right to remain silent. So far, there is no criminal violation to act on at this time. However, the idea of issuing a summons for Ashlee to appear before a dependency court has also been presented. Now, if you don't know what a dependency court is, these courts address cases where a parent may be unfit to care for a child, or cases of concern for a child who is at significant risk of becoming abused or neglected. Basically, the court would just summon Ashlee and ask her about Melodee's well-being. If she refuses to speak then, she could be considered in contempt of court and held in jail until she complies. So how could they make this happen? Well, the petition for the summons would need to come from Child Welfare Services in Santa Barbara County. Or I've read that in some cases, the court will accept a private petition from law enforcement officials. But usually, from what I could find, it seems that local child services agencies do most of the petitions. And as of recording this episode, that hasn't happened yet. Many people are also asking why Ashlee can't be arrested on charges related to truancy laws in California. Well, it turns out that in early October 2025, those laws changed. It used to be that parents and caregivers could face fines and even jail time for excessive absences, even for independent study programs such as the one Melodee was enrolled in, but those criminal penalties have since been removed. So while that would have been a viable option a few months ago, that's no longer the case. But again, they're not out of options. According to a statement local attorney Michael Clayton gave to KSBY News, another avenue would be to file felony child endangerment charges, which he says is absolutely an option at this point. Which brings me to one of the largest points of controversy in Melodee's case thus far. How much pressure is too much pressure to put on Ashlee? Of course, the goal is to make her cooperate. And since she's already been so quiet, it seems, just speculation here, that authorities are hesitant to apply pressure from something like a dependency court or child endangerment charges at this time. Again, it's just a guess. For all we know, authorities could simply just not see this as a viable option. But I think this idea of pressure is important to address. Many people, including those who know Ashlee, believe it's very possible she's going through some type of mental health crisis right now. Since our first episode about Melodee, a neighbor has come out to say that she saw Melodee and Ashlee in the park around July 2025. She says it was pretty clear that Ashlee appeared to be in distress, rubbing her head as Melodee, like any child, asked her repeatedly to come play. It's not the most definitive example, I know, but it's what we have. And while I don't think this excuses her lack of cooperation to ensure Melodee's safety, I think all of this gives us some insight into why investigators may not be applying the maximum amount of pressure just yet. Ashlee may be the only person outside of, unknown potential witnesses who knows what happened to Melodee or where she may be. Basically, if they throw everything at her, it's possible Ashlee may never say where Melodee is or what happened to her.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. And it leads on who they might have been running for.
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
It's baseball, but so much more. Go bananas for Banana Ball with ESPN on Disney+. The greatest show in sports.
Are you kidding me?
Is the phenomenon everyone's talking about.
The trick play to the plate.
Catch the Savannah Bananas and other fan favorite teams all season long with select games streaming with ESPN on Disney+.
Let's go!
U.S. residents, 18+ only. Select Banana Ball games available to all Disney+ subscribers. Terms apply.
So I am back once again to ask what happened to Melodee Buzzard. Well, there are still so many things that we don't know about this case that could hold the key to finding Melodee, like where are Ashlee's cell phone records, GPS records from the rental company, credit card records. What steps are being taken to track this path down even further? Have they connected with the family members Lori Miranda has been speaking about? As it stands, it feels like there are few options as to what may have happened to Melodee. And of course, it seems like so much of this stems from that road trip. Why did Ashlee make this trip? Where were they going? Was it to traffic Melodee? Or is this a homicide? Was the road trip serving as some type of way for Ashlee to kill and leave Melodee in an unknown location far from home? Or is Lori Miranda onto something with her statements about Ashlee possibly visiting family along this route that she may have dropped Melodee off with? Could she still be alive and with them? I mean, obviously, we don't know. But I do hope that out of all the options, that Melodee is being hidden somewhere by someone. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please continue sharing Melodee's case as this new information emerges. It does seem to be the type of pressure law enforcement is still encouraging to place on this case. They are still actively encouraging the public to share Melodee's case. And they've now specifically made appeals to the residents of California, Kansas, Colorado, Nevada, and Arizona to share Melodee's information, and to specifically think back to October 9th and 10th. Is it possible that you saw a mother and daughter in a white Chevy Malibu, maybe getting gas or grabbing a bite to eat? Did you capture a white car on your Ring doorbell camera during that time frame? Every single piece of information in this case helps, and every share counts. So please take a moment to do whatever you can to help bring Melodee home. As a reminder, 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard was last seen in Colorado near the Utah border on October 9th, 2025. She has curly brown hair, brown eyes, is approximately 4'6", and weighs between 60 and 100 pounds. When Melodee was last seen, her mother Ashlee was driving a rented 2024 white Chevy Malibu. The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office has confirmed that she drove with at least 2 different license plates, a California plate issued by the rental car company 9MNG101, as well as a New York license plate, HCG 9677. They believe it's possible Ashlee used other plates as well. Anyone with information is asked to call the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office at 805-681-4150. You can also submit a tip anonymously at 805-681-4171, online at sbsheriff.org or at Tips.FBI.Gov. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The studio doors open and our emotional support puppies, Popcorn and Heber, are in the room. Let's go right into this case. There were just so many crucial updates that I wanted to come back, bring you those, and tell you just more about Melodee's case. It is something I am following in the media every single day. I cannot stop thinking about it. And again, it's a case that I will push to the front of the line because the impact is so great now. I feel like right now is the best opportunity to find the most information about what happened to Melodee evidence-wise, right? To spread the word as much as possible, especially with these developments about the states and cities, that police are really targeting. I just wanted to get that information out there, do a follow-up episode, and let you know what was going on. Now, the first thing I have on my list here is to, again, revisit that. What is the appropriate amount of pressure to put on Ashlee? And I obviously addressed it in the episode, but I just wanted to bring it back here because it is an important and really hard topic. And again, just something I see splashed across social media, and it really seems like people are split. They need to put more pressure on her, they need to back off. And, I consider that too, right? I saw that and was like, could my episode be harmful? That is like my worst fear, is that any content I put out there is harmful versus helpful, like that again, like I never want to do that. So I, one, had that heavily weighing on my mind as I thought about all this. And as I was going through the updates and continued to see, especially the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, ask people to continue to share this case, I just followed their lead. Again, I think that there's a line. I guess not again. I do think that there's a line, right? I think, there are a lot of people out there going online and just bashing Ashlee, right? She needs to come forward, which I mean, I agree, right? I think she needs to come forward, but just like, I don't know, bashing her in a way that doesn't feel productive. Like, I think again that there's a line, right? There's creating content out of concern for Melodee, and then there's creating content or even just, I guess, narratives where you're just slamming down Ashlee again and again. And mental health isn't an excuse for a child to go missing or for a child to die. We don't know what happened to Melodee. I just think that there's a fine line that you can walk, and I'm trying to do that. It does seem that Ashlee is going through a mental health crisis, as her family has indicated through a variety of stories that I told you. But again, we have to keep asking, where is Melodee? We have to keep updating the public with possible known locations and whereabouts so that they can tap into their own resources. Again, look at your Ring doorbell camera. Just go through those. It takes, I promise you, like less than probably, 15 minutes, depending on how fast your phone can load, to go back to that date, especially before we hit that 30-day mark, and see what is there. I just want to bring Melodee home. And I don't know. I don't think any of us really know, right? If they're trying to give Ashlee some space or if they just need more time to build a case against her. I mean, I feel like a child endangerment case is a slam dunk, but I could be wrong. Maybe they want to make sure, if and when, or if or when they bring it to court, that it actually goes through. Now, the next thing on my list I had to talk about was Melodee not having any representation with police. And I think it's so hard, right? Because this case is big in the media. And I do think that there's a lot of pressure on all these agencies to solve it. It just always makes me nervous when there's not a person advocating for a missing child with police specifically. There's not one person that is like keeping track of all the records or getting all the records that they can, speaking with detectives and passing along, crucial information, like Melodee's aunt talking about getting these tips and, the police not answering her phone call or calling her back is literally insane. And I really do hope that things have changed since then. But I just think that really speaks to why every single missing child needs to have one person at least that can speak with police and really be that point person, right? Usually a family point person for the police to speak with. And then that way, that person that represents the child can go back to the rest of the family. They can, gather the tips, whatever it might be, and communicate with law enforcement. Instead of it kind of being, what appears to be in this case, really fragmented as different, members of her family begin calling into police. It just, again, makes me nervous. And I think that there's a better way that this could be handled. But I also understand that it's hard, Ashlee's sister and her aunt haven't seen her since she was about 4. Her maternal grandmother hasn't seen her in about 2 years. So who is that family member? I don't know. I'm not the person to choose that. I do think that there's certainly a choice. I think, her aunt and her sister have really, really stepped up. I don't know. Again, I feel like I'm in the point of rambling, so I'm just going to say I don't know what the perfect solution is, but I really hope that law enforcement can either learn to work better with this family or at least talk to them about the tips that they've received. I don't know. Like I said, the whole thing makes me nervous. Now on to media discrepancies. There is not a ton, and I think that it's because these larger, outlets like News Nation, Court TV, Nancy Grace, etc., they really, outside of speaking, because they always like bring on a ton of experts and stuff. Here's a prosecutor, here's somebody from the FBI, here's, their opinion, what they think and their professional experience, blah, blah, blah. But facts-wise, it does seem that most of these people are getting most of their information either from law enforcement, which I will say, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, such a mouthful every time I say it, they have been very good about disseminating information and being very public facing. They have, statements on their website. They're talking to the media, which I think is a fantastic thing. But outside of them, it's usually the media that they're talking to is usually KSBY News, which I kind of obnoxiously have given them credit at this point, because it really does seem like Crystal Bermudez is out there breaking this case and living in this case every single day. So I think the reason that there aren't a ton of media discrepancies is because most of this information is coming from two places: law enforcement and their spokespeople, and Crystal Bermudez at KSBY News, or occasionally another reporter at the same news station. And on to our hero of the episode. I'm gonna give it to Crystal again, Crystal Bermudez. Just out there again, what seems like every single day reporting on this case. Of course, I don't think she's out there every single day. I don't think that she is harassing Ashlee Buzzard by any stretch of the word, but she is certainly persistent. And again, it's not going to change from, my first part of my coverage of Melodee's case, but I do want to again acknowledge Melodee's family for continuing to show up, continuing to do interviews, and trying to work with law enforcement. And I do want to include her maternal grandmother in that. And I specifically put that line in this episode that she was continuing to do interviews despite the extreme scrutiny she has gotten for not seeing Melodee and assuming that she was okay. It's hard. In an ideal world, would a grandmother be super involved and know everything? Absolutely. Sometimes in families, are those things more fragmented and grandparents aren't involved? Again, absolutely. I don't think that you can place the blame on Melodee's grandmother. She hadn't seen her in 2 years. I'm sure that she is filled with regret. I'm sure that she, along with everyone who's talking about it, wishes that she was there. I don't think that we can argue on that. But what I commend her for is continuing to show up despite that criticism, which isn't easy to do. It's why some people, in my sister's case, have shown up once in the media and never again. And I will talk about this concept until I'm blue in the face. I will talk about it forever. If you want families to show up and do media, it is in your best interest, their best interest, the best interest of the case, to not totally tear them down over things like that. Like, it's hard because we're all entitled to our opinion. I think it's very important to be vocal in true crime and to discuss these cases critically, to gather any lessons we can to do better in the future. But when you just shred someone like Melodee's grandmother has been shredded in the media, not the media, I should say, but really the comment sections of the media, I don't think there's a reasonable explanation for that person to go out again and do an interview, because you are layering pain on top of pain on top of pain. Not only are these families dealing with the loss of their loved one being missing, whatever it may be, they are now dealing with extreme scrutiny from the public. And sometimes it's just too much. For the average person, I'd say that's just too much. It just hurts too much. So yeah, in a perfect world, every person who knew a missing person would continue to show up in the media again and again, no matter how much it hurt. But that's just not reality. And I think, again, in the best interest of the case, we should give them just a little grace so that they keep showing back up, they keep talking, they keep providing information. I feel like that's going to upset some people, but it just is what it is. I see it time and time again where a family member will do like one interview, they get just completely bashed, and they never show up again. I don't know. I guess it just makes you kind of wonder, like, what if? What if these other people had come forward and talked about it? What if they came back for a second and a third interview despite it? Could things have been different if they weren't bashed so hard? I don't know. I'm rambling again, as always. We should call this the secret rambling show. But with all of that being said, let's go on to our segment of hope. All right, this week's segment of hope comes from Newsweek.com. The title of the article is Teen Girl Missing for Days Found Alive in Box Several States Away. This is from November 3rd, 2025, and written by Jenna Sundell. The article reads, a 13-year-old girl who was recently reported missing in Louisiana was found alive in Pittsburgh on Thursday in a basement concealed in a sheet-covered box. Keyshawn Crumedy, age 26, is facing multiple charges in connection with the incident, including trafficking in individuals, unlawful contact with a minor, sexual assault, and corruption of minors. Ronald Smith, a 62-year-old New Orleans resident, was also arrested on October 27th in Georgia for simple kidnapping and contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile. So basically, they talked to Smith and they learned that the girl was with Smith at a Greyhound bus station in Baton Rouge earlier that week. They are not releasing her name, but we do seem to know how this happened, which I think is critical to talk about. So it looks like that the girl met Crumedy over Snapchat, then traveled by Greyhound bus to Pittsburgh after he promised he would help her get adopted by a trusted adult. So if I had to guess, I would say this girl was likely in the foster care system, or probably is, obviously. The FBI got a search warrant for a residence in the 1200 block of Davis Avenue in Pittsburgh. When they went in, they found her in a box covered by a sheet. When she was found with an adult female from Washington, D.C., and another adult male. They are both under investigation. According to the criminal complaint, officials said Crumedy gave the girl edibles and allegedly sexually assaulted her at least once or twice a day for around a week. Sorry, I had to compose myself. This next line says that the victim was taken to a hospital, with officials saying the girl communicated that it was the safest she ever felt. Crumedy was transported to the county jail, and he's been denied bail. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill said in a statement, quote, very proud of my LBI agents in helping to locate this child. She was groomed, exploited, and then sexually abused by strangers who found her online. This is just one example of the dangers of social media and human trafficking, end quote. So, this makes our segment of hope, obviously, because she was found alive and found before whatever these people had planned to do with her in the next step. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify, spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.